most important thing in our lives is how we deal with the Lord. And I was so pleased to hear from Kristen's family here that many of them have already accepted Christ and so forth. But years ago, when we were in Tahoe, I was a lead chaplain at the big jail there, and we had a lot of turnover. I mean, if the really heavy crooks that got convicted, they got sent to Sacramento for appeals and so forth. So we had a lot of people going through, and I had groups. Every first Sunday was my Sunday, and I would talk to groups of women and men and other men and so on. And I had a regular story that I told them, and I often used it on memorial services because, number one, you've got everybody's attention, and it's important, and it's a method of presenting the gospel, and you might use this yourself. I tell the guys in the group, I said, well, you know, pretend for a minute that you're in the place of George Smith over here, who's on death row, and he's got about 60 days left. He's gone through all his appeals, and there's no hope. But yesterday, the chaplain called him in and told him some great news, that there's this VIP in the governor's office who's been following his case, and he felt that there was some illegality in their case. And it turns out he was on hospice program himself. He was dying, and he had volunteered to take the needle for this guy. And I asked him, you know, that's what I'd ask him. I says, how many of you would accept a deal like that, where this stranger, perfect stranger, would volunteer to die for you? And never once, over quite a few years, did anybody refuse a deal like that. And then after I'd finished my talk with them, I'd say, don't forget, men or women, we're all on death row. We are all on death row. And as you get older, like Beth and I are mid-80s, you come to realize that, hey, life is really kind of short. So the important thing that we've discovered among us today is being able to see people like Marcia and hear what this lady is doing. Cindy is, you know, wants to be a missionary, and great things are happening. And if you watch the news, if you're reading prophecy, it's like watching the evening news. So if any of you can use that little story to present the gospel to a friend, feel free, because it is a true story. And even though I told the young people yesterday, their main job is to take care of the folks when they get old, their main job, really, the most important thing in your life, the most important decision any of us ever make, is that thing about redemption. There's only three things the Bible covers in one sense. One is the creation, the fall of man, and redemption. And most of it's devoted to that. And I have learned some really good things from Carrie, particularly on what she's doing in this area. But anyway, busy as I was, I had to appoint, plead with one person in each of the siblings' family. And so with Bob and Peggy, we got Muffy, who couldn't be here. I've already sent her notebook. Jack and Linda was appointed there. And with Carrie's help, I'm going to get some better photos and send to them. On Betty, Sandy, who also couldn't be here because of her husband, is taking care of that family. And Sue is Carrie.
No, Becky.
I'm sorry, Becky, pardon me.
Right.
And she can't be here because she had an operation
Yeah.
Friday. And I have her notebook here, it's got her name on it. And one of us someday is gonna get this to her, but now that we're gonna get improved pictures, it's not so urgent. But if anybody wants to get to drive by Ventura next week or two, you might drop this by and see her. But what I was hoping for today, that you can read all the text here. There's not really much text except explaining the pictures. What we could do is just share our experience. So you've already heard my closing. So I'd like to finish this by having anyone who wants to volunteer to talk about experiences they've had with Jeannie, to share them with the rest of us, good experiences. And you've already shown us one, and Carrie, but
Well, Dad, how about you? Talk about your experiences growing up.
they're bad.
Well, good, bad, or
Well, not all
you know,
bad.
just-
Okay, real quick. I was the youngest child. When I was 7, Jeannie came along, and
Then she became.
the mother, bless her heart, told all of us that, well, she was a mistake. And that's not really a wise thing to say about your youngest child. And they had gone through the Depression. They had trouble. They didn't know where their next meal was coming from. They lost a baby, little Jimmy, from paralysis. And it was very hard on them. And they just didn't have the energy left for that 8th child. In fact, I wanted to join the Boy Scouts, but it turned out that Dad had already been a scoutmaster and done the whole scheme with the older boys. So he didn't want it anymore. And I'm afraid in a similar way, Mother didn't give any real attention to her as we needed, nor did I. I was just graduating from high school, and Jack called and he needed help with Laura. She had breast cancer, so off I went. Hitchhiked across the country, 2 days. Then I stayed around for a while, even after she got out of the hospital. But then the draft board caught me and found out where I was and sent me this invitation to go to Korea. And I said, look, I'm from a Navy family. If you make me do this, they'll never talk to me again. Sorry, Mr. Brown, but show up here in Missouri in 0800 next week. And then when I got back from Korea, I had the chance to go to college, and I got accepted at Berkeley. And so I was gone. So all the time she needed that older brother there to help her, protect her, I was nowhere around. But in the last 10 years, I've talked to her, about once a month. And I'm pleased to say that every time I call her, I say, okay, remember to pray. And she'd say, yes, I pray. Tom, I pray every day to the Lord. And I have since heard that she has had a strong faith, and praise the Lord. So that's my experience. Not real good, but at least a nice ending. Anyone else who wants to talk about experience with Jeannie?
Uncle Tom, I think, I don't lay a lot of pressure on yourself for that, and don't be remorseful, because there was also my mom who was there,
Yes.
and she had great times with Aunt Jeannie.